So example 5, what are my numbers that go in front? Okay, questions on how I got those numbers? Also, how many blanks are on the 5th row? 6, because it's always one more than the exponent. So oftentimes it's very good to like make your blanks based on here, and then you'll know that you have it written out right. Yes?
So the two ends will always be 1.
Yes, always. Okay, so then I'm starting here with a to what power? 5th. A to the 5th, and then I go a to the 4th, a to the, a to the, a to the 1st, and this is a to the 0, which I do not need to write. Okay, and then I start with my b's. So this is going to be b to the 5th, b to the 4th, b to the 3rd, b to the 1st, and b to the 0, which I don't have to write. What should all my exponents add to be? 5. And they do. Okay, 6th row. Okay, so 6th row, there are my numbers. So what am I going to write? Okay, are we all good with that? Okay, then a to the what power? 6, then a to the 4th, a to the 3rd, a to the 2nd, a to the 1st, a to the 0, which I don't write, and then I go backwards, and this is going to start with b to the 6th, b to the 5th, b to the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and 0, which I don't write.
When we get to numbers, we can
We're going to practice here. You're going to be okay. If you know this process, the problems are going to be super easy. But you will have to do some multiplying and stuff. Okay? All right. So let's go to example 1 now. So we have everything that we've learned, and now we're going to apply it to this, an actual problem. So this is saying x plus 3 to the 5th. Now you could write out x plus 3 to the 5th and multiply everything out, or we can use these shortcuts we just learned. First thing we want to do is make our blanks. How many blanks for this problem?
6.
Very good. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's always plus signs in between.
So we'll never have minus at all.
Well, you might end up having a negative, but you're going to leave all these as pluses. But sometimes you'll have a negative number. And so sometimes like a negative, you'll have a negative to the 3rd power, which would be a negative. But it'll make sense as we do it. Okay, but you start with pluses in front. Okay? All right. So what are my numbers for this row that I'm going to put in front?
1, 5, 10, 5.
Good. 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Okay. And then x is my like a term, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd, x to the 1st, and x to the 0 I do not write. Do you guys agree? Okay, my b term now though is what? 3. So I'm going to, that means I have 3 to the 5th power. And then I'm going to have 3 to the 4th, and 3 to the 3rd, 3 to the 2nd, 3 to the 1st, and then 3 to the 0 I do not need to write. Are there questions right now?
No.
So what we need to do now is we're going to have to multiply some of these numbers out. Okay, 1x to the 5th is just going to be 1x to the 5th or x to the 5th. Okay? Plus, on this one I have a 5 and I have 3 to the 1st. Well, 3 to the 1st is 3, and then 5 times 3 is, so that means I'm going to have 15x to the 4th. Okay. Plus, on this one, I have 3 to the 2nd power. Well, what's 3 to the 2nd power?
9.
So this is really 9. And so I have 10 times 9, which is 90 x to the 3rd. Plus, what's 3 to the 3rd power? Joey, are you doing this with us? Okay, 3 to the 3rd is what?
27.
27, and 27 times 10 is 270 is correct. So it's going to be 270 x squared. Plus, 3 to the 4th power is what? 81, and 81 times 5 is? Very good. 405 is correct. 405, and then x to the first is, I'm just going to write as x. You can write your first power, though, if you want to. Okay? Plus, and then I have 3 to the fifth. What's 3 to the fifth? 243. And then 243 times 1 is just 243. And so this is my answer. Okay. Questions? All right. It is pretty cool, huh? It's nice seeing patterns. Okay. Now, you have this where you can open it like side to side and see Pascal's triangle. If you want to end up ripping off the back page and making your Pascal's triangle, because you're going to end up using this all the time in homework and stuff, you can rip it off and make your own. It's totally up to you. Okay. So, but we're going to go ahead and do example 2 now. How many spaces am I going to need? 5. Very good. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How did you know that we needed 5 spaces?
It's 4.
4 is your exponent, and you always have one more space than you have exponents. Good. Who remembers the numbers for the 4th row?
1, 4, 6, 4, 5.
Oh, for 4th row?
Yeah, right? 1, 4, 6, 4, 1 is correct. Okay, so then we start, my first term is A this time. So what am I going to write? Yeah.
For the patterns, isn't it always going to be like, if you're like on the 4th row or whatever, it's going to be 1, and then that 4th row, 1, 4, and then the middle number is going to be 4, 1. So there's the pattern.
Yes, yes, you're right. Okay, so A to the what power? 4th, and then A to the 3rd, and then A to the 2nd, A to the 1st, and nothing. Now you have to be careful with this one because the whole thing is 2B. So I'm going to put 2B in parentheses, and it's going to be 2B to what power? 4th, and then it's going to be 2B to the 3rd, and then it's 2B to the 2nd, and then 2B to the 1st, and then nothing. Okay. So my first term, my answer is just going to be what? A to the 4th, or 1A to the 4th is fine as well. On this one, remember this first power has to go to both things inside. But 2 to the first power is still what? 2. And so I'm going 2 times 4, which is 8. So I'm just going to write right here, 4 times 2, which gives me my 8A to the 3rd power. And then what else? B to the 1st. So on this, I have 4, I have A to the 3rd, I have 2 to the 1st, B to the 1st, and so I'm multiplying everything together, okay? So on my second one, this is going to end up becoming 2 to the 2nd, which is 4, and then B to the 2nd, right? And then I still have my, so I'm going to go 6 times 4 is 24, and then I still have A to the 2nd and B to the 2nd. Okay, so on the next one, what's going to happen? Good, so we're going to have 8, 8B to the 3rd. And so then we go 8 times 4, which is 32. And then we have A to the 1st, B to the 3rd. And again, you can write the 1 or not write it, it's up to you. Plus, in our last one, we have to do this 4th power through. So what's 2 to the 4th power? 16, and then B to the 4th. And 16B to the 4th times 1 is just 16B to the 4th. And my 6's and my B's do not look that different. Okay. That's supposed to be a 6. 16B to the 4th. Okay. Questions? All right, so this one, notice now we have a negative. And this is where we could end up with positives and negatives. But how many blanks am I going to need for this one? 5. Very good. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why are there 5 blanks? Good. You always do one more than what your exponent is. I'm going to put pluses right now between all of these. Okay? And what's my numbers again for my 4th row? 1, 4, 6, 4. Very good. Okay. Now my A term this time is 2p. Okay? So we have to put that in parentheses, and I'm going to write 2p to the fourth, and then 2p to the third, and 2p to the second, and 2p to the first, and then 2p to the 0, which we don't write. Now on this one, you have to pay attention to your sign. My B term is a negative q. Okay? So in parentheses, I'm going to write negative q to the fourth, negative q to the third, negative q to the second, negative q to the first, and then nothing. Okay, so on my first one, I have to multiply that out, and so 2 to the fourth power is what? So that's 16p to the fourth, and 16p to the fourth times 1 is just 16p to the fourth. Okay, next one. We have to do our third power through. So 2 to the third power is 8. So we have 8p to the third. Now, when you take a negative to a first power, is it going to be negative or positive? Negative. So that means I have a negative q, okay, and then I solve my 4. So I'm going 4 times 8p to the third times negative q. What does that end up making? Negative 32 p to the third q, because there's still that one q. Okay, so now we go to the next one. So I have 2 squared, which is 4. So I have 4p to the second. I still have my 6 there. And then what is a negative squared? Positive. So that means I just have a positive q. So when I multiply that, what do I get? Good. Okay. So then the next one. 2 to the first power is 2. So I still have my 4, and then I have my 2, and then I have my p. And what is a negative to the third power? So I have negative q to the third. So when I multiply all that together, what do I get? pq to the third. Good. And lastly, a negative to the fourth power makes a positive. Okay, so I have 1 times q to the fourth, which is just plus q to the fourth. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this either, but there's a patterns with the negatives and positives. Yeah, every other. So it goes positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Oh, it should be q squared, thank you. Good job. Candy for you. Sorry, I forgot this was q squared because we did our negative squared and our q squared. Okay, questions? All right, why don't you guys try 4 on your own? It's not that long because it's only a third power. So let's see what you can do. And I'm going to stop this.